If you're watching this screencast, then you are choosing to do a retake on this Jobs of Nouns quiz. The first part of that is on the reverse side of your test, you'll see another copy, a blank copy of this, so that you can walk through the screencast and we're going to do it together. And then you can go back and compare your answers so that you see what you did wrong. So the first thing you should know, what are the 6 jobs a noun can do? And so we had a little mnemonic to help us remember what they were, and that was iPods A, and that stood for indirect object, predicate noun, object of the preposition, direct object, subject, and a positive. And again, at any point during the screencast, you of course need to pause it so that you can make sure that you're taking complete notes, because this will serve as the study guide that you need to be using to help you prepare for the next part of the quiz. All right, so what are the 4 sentence patterns? So one thing to think about with sentence patterns is that they all start exactly the same. They all have to start with a subject. And remember, there were only 4. We put an extra box in there on accident. They also all have to have a verb. And so we've got 2 different kinds of verbs. Each verb has 2 sentence patterns that go with it. So there's subject plus action verb plus direct object. And then with the direct object, if you have more words in between, you could have an indirect object. And then subject plus linking verb plus predicate noun. And then the only sentence pattern that does not go with nouns is predicate adjectives. So there aren't going to be any on this test because we're only working with predicate nouns. And then I asked you, we didn't grade you, but we asked you to put your linking verbs there because that's going to help you in recognizing these sentence patterns. But we also have to remember that sometimes these linking verbs can also be action verbs. Sometimes they could be helping verbs. So we just have to think about how they're being used in the sentence. So we have the first 8 that go together. Then we have 5 that go with the mnemonic grabs. And then we have 5 that go with our 5 senses. So see if you can write all those down and then come back and check your answer. So the first 8 that can also be helping verbs are am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been. Then we have grow, remain, appear, become, seem, which go with that grabs mnemonic. And then the 5 that go with our 5 senses to describe how something looks, how it feels, how it smells, how it sounds, and how it tastes. All right, so the next part of this involved many different steps, and that's why we have them written out separately for you. A lot of you did not underline the nouns in this sentence. We gave you credit as long as you were able to label the job of the noun, but I find that this is personally helpful to me to make sure that I've gone through the process. I would tackle this one sentence at a time. I saw a lot of students just going through the whole page and trying to highlight all the prepositional phrases. That does not really work for me. I want to look at the sentence and walk through the process each time to make sure I'm doing it correctly. So the first thing I'm going to do is try to find all the nouns. So in this one, I see beach is a noun, miles. I see beach is a noun, but it's not a noun here because it's describing towels. So we're not really actually talking about a beach. We're talking about towels. And once I think I have all of those, I'm going to go through my process of highlighting prepositional phrases, of colorful beach towels. And once I highlight that prepositional phrase, and I know right now that that's an object of a preposition. So then I'm going to go, I'm going to see one more. With miles. With is a preposition. I saw a lot of you trying to box that like it was a subordinating conjunction. Our subordinating conjunctions are WH words, not just W. So that one is a preposition, which makes this an object of a preposition. And then that leaves my subject to be beach. And I really didn't even need to go any farther and figure out the rest of those words because I've already figured out the jobs of my nouns. The next thing it says is circle any transitions. There are no transitions in here. So now I'm going to look for what type of sentence is it. And I don't see, all I see is the beach was filled. So that's a subject or a simple sentence. Number 2, along the shore, children built sandcastles and frolicked in the water. I see shore, children. I see sand castles. Well, sand is describing castles, so castles is the noun. If you labeled these together, I took a ½ point off because we're not saying sandcastles is the noun, castles is the noun. And then we've got water. So now I go and look for prepositional phrases. I see along the shore. So that means that I've got an object of a preposition. Children built in the water is an object of the preposition. So now I'm going to go look for my subject, children. Now I'm going to look up at my sentence patterns, and I know I have either have an action verb or a linking verb. The children did what? The children built. Well, building is an action. They built what? They built castles. So there's my direct object. And I do see when I start to look at my sentence patterns, I see my sentence types. It does have a conjunction and, but there's no comma here, so I know it's not a compound sentence. We actually have two verbs. The children built and frolicked in the water. They played. So this is another simple sentence. And this one does have a prepositional phrase. A transition. So you should have circled that up to the comma. Number 3, after the storm ended, the ocean was a calm sheet of glass. So I see storm, ocean, sheet, and glass. And I saw a lot of people do this. They just highlighted after the storm ended because they saw after as a preposition. It can be a preposition, but it's not here. And a good clue here is that it ends way over here. It doesn't end with a noun. So that tells me that this after isn't being used as a preposition. It's being used as a subordinating conjunction. Storm is the subject and ended is the verb. So this is a complex sentence. So if that's my dependent clause, let's go look at my independent clause. The ocean was a calm sheet of glass. I see a prepositional phrase over here, so that's an object of a preposition. The subject is ocean. And then I get to was. Was, it's one of my linking verbs. Was. Now if it just said the ocean was calm, that would be a predicate adjective because it's going back and describing the subject, but it doesn't say that. It says a calm sheet. A tells me there's a noun here, a sheet and calm sheet. So since both of these adjectives are describing this noun and this is a linking verb, then this has to be a predicate noun. And I do see a transition here as well. Our dependent clause is acting like a transition. All right, number 4, a tidal pool formed near the pier that was filled with baby jellyfish and starfish. So I'm going to go through pool, pier, jellyfish, starfish. All right, I'm going to start by looking for my prep phrases. I see near. That shows where something is. Near what? Near the pier. So that's an object of a preposition. With baby jellyfish. And then I run into a conjunction, which makes me think, is it with anything else? It's with baby fish and starfish. So each of these are objects of prepositions. All right, so I'm going to go look for my subject, pool. And the pool did what? It formed. So I figured out the jobs of my nouns. Now I need to figure out the sentence type. I have that was filled. Well, I know that that is a subordinating conjunction. And it acts like the subject. And then was filled is my verb. So this is a complex sentence. The lifeguard is my brother's old friend, and he taught my sister the backstroke. All right, a lot of us missed this one. And I'm going to point out, when you see apostrophe S there, it is no longer a noun. We are not talking about a noun anymore. It's possessive. It's acting like an adjective. So we are not going to underline that as a noun, because if it just said brother, that's fine, but it doesn't say that. So lifeguard is a subject, friend, is a noun. Sister is a noun, and backstroke is a noun. So I'm going to go look to see if there are any prep phrases, and I don't see any. So I'm going to look for my subject, lifeguard, is up on my list here. It's a linking verb. The lifeguard is what? Well, I figured out, I know brothers is a possessive. Brothers what? Brother's friend. My friend. Old friend. So since all of these adjectives are describing a noun, then this is a predicate noun. The lifeguard is my brother's old friend. I could switch it around and say my brother's old friend is the lifeguard. Okay, remember with predicate nouns you can switch them around like that. Now I'm going to figure, I still have another sentence over here, and because I have that comma and, I'm thinking this is compound. So let's see if I can find another subject. He did what? He taught. Taught what? He taught the backstroke to whom? To my sister. So that is a compound sentence. All right. Number 6, I'm going to talk fast because I'm afraid my time's going to run out. My favorite restaurant is an Italian place in Myrtle Beach called Gino's. So restaurant, Italian describes the place. Myrtle Beach is the only one that's allowed to be together because it's a proper noun. And then Gino's, if it's a restaurant, I know I just said that possessive don't work. In this case, because it's the name of a restaurant, it's okay. All right, so in Myrtle Beach is a prep phrase, so that's an object of a preposition. Restaurant is my subject. Is a linking verb. Well, and Italian both describe place, that makes it a noun, and since it's following a linking verb, it's a predicate noun. And I could switch it around. An Italian place in Myrtle Beach is my favorite restaurant. I could flip them. All right, now I see this semicolon. I know that that indicates a compound sentence, so I need another subject. It is my subject. Is called works together as the action verb. Is called what? Is called Gino's. So Gino's is a direct object there. And then the last one. At the end of the summer, my grandparents buy all the cousins a plane ticket to visit them. So I see end, the summer, grandparents, cousins. I see plane ticket. In this case, plane is describing what kind of ticket, not a bus ticket, but a plane ticket. All right, so I'm going to go look for phrases. I see at the end, so that's an object of a preposition. Of the summer, so that's an object of the preposition. I see an infinitive over here, to visit, so I can ignore that. All right, so now I'm going to go look for my subject. Grandparents is the subject. What do the grandparents do? They buy, and that's an action verb. So now I'm going to look for a direct object. What do they buy? Grandparents buy whom or what? Well, it wouldn't make sense to say they buy the cousins. They buy the tickets. So tickets is the direct object. And they buy tickets for whom? They buy tickets for the cousins. So that's an indirect object. And that makes this a simple sentence. And because there are 2 prepositional phrases at the beginning, we've got a transition. All right, so this is the first part of what you need to do. You're going to go turn this into the sub, and you're going to get a copy of this handout. And this is where you're going to do some more practice at just identifying those nouns and walking through the process of labeling the sentences. You need to come see us sometime before next Friday to review the correct answers on this. And then on Friday next week is when you will take your retest.